to be. And so tonight it's going to be interesting. I asked Celeste to share a couple videos in between, very short. Like one of them is like literally 12 seconds. The other one is like less than a minute as well. And I want us to be able to, I need to put on my do not disturb. I want us to be able to discuss them. So, sorry, ladies, right. I want us to be able to discuss them. I want to hear your, normally we open up at the end for questions and comments and people to share their stories, their experiences. But at some point during the session, I want your feedback. So I want you to be able to unmute your mic and give me some feedback, especially on the links that the videos that Celeste is going to share. So it's going to be exciting. So ladies, before I start, is there anybody on this call, and this is your first time? So any first time ladies joining us tonight? Let me see. Anybody here for the very first time? You could just type in the chat, just say, yes, I'm here for the first time. Oh, welcome, Denisha, welcome. It's lovely to have you. Anybody else here for the first time? First time, Ornella. Ornella, I almost named my daughter Ornella. Well, growing up, I would always say I would call my daughter Ornella, but then I had a dream with her name and that changed, right? Nancy, welcome, thank you. My daughter, who is not Ornella, it's Kristen, just brought me some water. So ladies, welcome. All the first timers. I really hope that you all enjoy and are able to learn something from tonight's session. As Celeste said, I am a pastor. I've been married for 22 years. I've counseled, countless individuals and couples. So a lot of what I'm sharing today comes from wisdom, my life experience, from God, from the Bible. Sadia, good night to you and welcome. And from, what I picked up counseling people, common things that I would realize and so on, right? So yeah, ladies, this is very informal. So I want you all to relax and enjoy. And when that time comes, I want you all to be able to open up, ask questions, be free to be open. You can disagree with me. A lot of what I am sharing tonight is, I would say, my opinion, but coming from a place of solid information and facts and, as I said, experience and so on. Some of it is facts, some of it, there's a men's group in my church. I tend to ask them, they have a WhatsApp group and they have meetings as well. Sometimes I ask for their opinion. So I get like out of, let's say 25 of them, they would answer questions. So I'd get an idea, okay, most men think this way. So, but some of what I'm saying is my opinion. So you are free to disagree. But it's, yeah. If you've been single for a while, it might be good for you to take advice from somebody else, yeah? Because something you're doing not working, right, ladies? Don't again, I'm feeling intimidated because it's kind of going to be up in your face, right? So let me start, ladies, by saying this. And this is to deal with singleness and just that longing. As human beings, ladies, we were made to have deep, meaningful relationships with each other, with the opposite sex, with same sex. Let me be careful how I say that. Let me correct myself. Deep, meaningful relationships with other human beings, right? And that I think that there's a desire in most human beings. I will not say that every single person has the desire to be married. There actually is a thing in the Bible called a eunuch, and that's somebody who is born actually, I think they don't have the ability to have sex. And so it's a desire that they don't have, right? Could be wrong there, but I believe that's what it is. But I don't necessarily say that every single human being has to get married. That is in the cards for every single human being to be married. An example of that in the Bible, Paul, who wrote most of the New Testament, he was never married, and that was by choice. He never said at one time that God made it so. that he be done married. He said he chose to not be married because he wanted to serve God with his all. And so I believe somebody can choose that as well, can make a choice and say, I don't want to be married. But what you're going to do with your life, if you're not, I think should be something meaningful, should be something, you should serve God, give God your time, find your purpose in life, but, right? But I said all that to say, ladies, that it is important to know that the deep longing that most human beings have for that connection as you grow older, it kind of drives you to the opposite sex, and also to have friendships. That deep longing really can only be totally satisfied by having a relationship with God, in my opinion. God wants us to have relationships with each other, to form bonds and friendships, and to get married and have that deep loving connection with one person. That's God's plan. He wants that. But outside of marriage, I think that it's important for you ladies to know that the longing that you feel, and sometimes that emptiness that you feel, and sometimes even the desperation. Yeah, Denisha, I think most women on this call here because they want to get married. I hope so. It's a rare thing. I've only ever met, maybe in my entire life, 2 women who said that they don't want to get married. And one of them, I think, sincerely it was just a choice, right? And the other one, I think she just was really hurt so many times that she kind of gave up on men, right? So it's very uncommon, I think, for a woman to have that desire. Right. So what I was saying is that longing that you have, ladies, I think only God could fulfill that. Before God brought Eve to Adam, before Eve ever existed, Adam had a very good or perfect relationship with God. God would come down in the garden every single day and meet with Adam, and they would have fellowship. So Adam, yes, God made Eve and brought Eve to Adam, and he said, you know what, I don't want Adam to be alone. It's not a good thing for him to be alone. I want him to multiply. I want him to have more, and so on. But before Eve, Adam knew God. And so there was, I've heard people say differently. Actually, just today in my research, I was listening to a video where a man said that he basically said Adam was longing for Eve. And I don't see that in Genesis chapter 1 or 2 or 3 anywhere that Adam had a longing for Eve. I saw that God was the one that saw into the future and looked at Adam and what was happening with him in the garden and the animals. And he would say, you know what? It's not good that Adam should be alone. I'm going to make somebody that he could be, compatible with, that he could share his life with, that he could have children and so on. It never said that Adam was lonely or feeling a lack or wanting, because he had a relationship with God, right? So I want to start by saying that, ladies, that you can actually live a rich and satisfied life without having a partner. So in those times in your life where you are single, so if you are single now and you desire to get married, it is possible for you to enjoy being single now and not feel that emptiness and longing, and not necessarily feel lonely, right? But that's a place I think that every human being should get to, because news flash, ladies, I've said this a million times, I'm going to say it again, you can be married and still feel lonely. You can be married and still feel a void and still be looking for more, right? And I've asked you, the married ladies on this call, I've asked them that question many times, and they've almost all, I think all, always said yes, that there have been times throughout their marriage that they have felt lonely and even alone, even though they have a husband sleeping right next to them on the bed. They still feel that they still don't feel that satisfaction, or they don't feel that this person is able to fulfill. You thought that this man was going to be it, but you realize that it was something more. Common thing, right? So we need to sort out the relationship with God before anything, in my opinion. Before you can have a proper, meaningful relationship with a man, I think you need to have a relationship with God and understand who he made you to be, right? So with that said, we'll be going to the difficult stuff now. I am going to answer the question. So ladies, the question was, this whole session is about, excuse me, Is it your fault that you're single? And I'm going to start off by answering the question. And that question is, the answer, sorry, is yes, it's your fault. It is your fault, right? So let me ask you also, we're going to start the chats, right? How many of you agree with me? Just, you can type it in the chat, yes or no. Yes, it's my fault, or no, you don't agree that it's your fault. It's your fault that you are single. This is what I'm saying. How many of you? Let me see your answers. Who agrees and who disagrees? Yes, no, it's not your fault. Okay. You don't. This is going to be a good session. Samara does not agree. It's not your fault. Okay. All right. Wow. I'm a little shocked. Okay. So far, nobody has agreed. Yes, it's my choice. Yes, it is. I chose badly twice. It's not my fault. It's not your fault that you're single, sorry, Denisha said. Onella is agreeing. Yes, it's her fault. It's my choice. So yeah, I like y'all using the word choice better. Yes. So fault. So some people have made that choice. I know that there are many women and men who could be in a flash, they could have a partner, but it's what kind of partner, it's what kind of relationship they would have, you know, and so some people prefer to wait. Yeah, understood, Mira. Some people prefer to wait to have something meaningful, to have something solid, to have a relationship that could actually lead to marriage. So they choose to be single because nobody that is in their life at this time, you know, makes a good husband. So I'm surprised that so many of you, but happy at the same time, said that it is not your fault, right? So let me ask you ladies, I am curious. I am so curious. I want to see these answers. If it's not your fault, then whose fault is it? Can the ladies who said they don't agree, whose fault is it that you are single? Please enlighten me. I'd like to know. I was in a relationship 10 years and the guy was afraid to submit. The men are not quality. Okay, so it's all the men in the world's fault. All right. Who else? Come, somebody else. Why? If it's not your fault, then who? Lack of, oh, I'm loving this. I am loving this. I am loving this. Lack of men in the church. Go on, next one. Why are you single? Whose fault is it? So it's all the men in the church's fault. I would say yes, because when God, I wasn't able to read that. Lisa, it's your ex-husband's fault. Well, well, it could be human selfish. Yes, predominantly. Let me see some other reasons why you all are single. If it's not you, then who and why? Right, the people who choose to be single, I understand that, and people could have many reasons for that. But those of you who are looking and wanting and hoping and wishing you had a partner, you know, I'm interested to see the reasons why you are not able to find someone. And the people who have been in long-term relationships, understand that, Carrie, long-term relationships that did not work out. Again, I understand that. That's still kind of different, but you still really cannot blame anybody, right? Ladies, don't get vexed with me, right? So the ladies who said, is the men's fault? Basically, some people said it's the men's fault. They're single because they don't have good men out there, or they don't have good men in the church, or people selfish, or whatever. I mean, if you really think deeply about that, you would realize that there's no situation you can actually accept. I always say this on this call, right? Andre, Sally, look, we have Andre here who's saying he's a good man. Currently focusing on my relationship with God. Andre, nice to have you. Is Andre or Andrea? Is Andre? Sally? Anyway, right? Something that I've always said on this call again, okay, that I've always said is that it is much easier, ladies, to take the responsibility or the blame or whatever off of yourself and, you know, put it on somebody else for your choices, right? But the fact of the matter is, even those of you who ended up in a toxic relationship, somebody said they were in a relationship for 16 years, if I'm not mistaken, if I saw correctly. I don't know if it was 16 or 6 I saw, but it was long. And the person said just now in the chat that it's not her fault. They were in a relationship for 16 years or however long, right? Correct me with the number of years. And the person could not commit. How is that not your fault? If I was in a relationship for 16 years, or let's say 10 years, and the person was not able to commit to me, then I have a choice. I cannot wait for that person to commit to me or to show enough interest in me to say, okay, after 10, 15 years, I will marry you. I have a choice. I can make a choice. I could have enough self-worth and I could see, wait now, this man playing the fool with my life. I don't have to stay here waiting year after year after year after year after year, waiting for him to decide if I'm good enough or if I worth being called his wife, being called Mrs. whatever. So you could pick yourself up and say, Brett, are you riding out? You don't really love me. You don't really, what could possibly be taking him 16 years to figure out or not commit? So that could never be his fault. That's your fault for staying so long and for allowing yourself to be in a situation for so long, right? Yeah, correct, right? Going into any relationship, you have to have boundaries. You have to set boundaries. You have to have an idea of what you want for yourself. And if after so long this man cannot commit to you, if I were your mother and you're with this person 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, 9, I'd be like, what this man, as your mother, I would say, girl, right out. There's men out there who will grab you up. So you are saying that it's his fault, but I think it's really a matter of how you see yourself, because if you had more self-worth, you would say this is not making sense and move on. Right? Okay, we're still working on the Andrea thing, right? You would have more self-worth and move on from that relationship. No males cannot join. It is females. Celeste, share the link in on YouTube so that if a man wants to look at it, he could look at it from YouTube, but not in this forum. You know, because of privacy, it's a women's group, right? So if there is a man here, you could come off of here and go on YouTube and look at it there, right? Yeah, right. So back to this, whose fault it is, and the ladies who said it's not your fault. Even if you're single because of a bad relationship, because of a previous toxic relationship, how did you get there? Why did you stay there? How, you know, so whatever choices you make in your life, the choices that you make, ladies, you cannot blame anybody for them. You cannot blame anybody for them, right? So I have things that people blame here, and one of them is the church. So that's why I was so happy when that young lady said there are no good men in the church. How in the world you could blame you being single on a whole body of people and not look at yourself? That is impossible. It could never be that there isn't one good man in all the churches in Trinidad and Tobago, one in the world. And so it really, if you think about it rationally, ladies, you cannot put the blame on the hundreds of thousands of men in churches in Trinidad and Tobago and say, right, yeah, and say that, take yourself out of the picture and blame all Christian men. If you think about it, you know, put everything aside, ladies' experiences and stuff, you could tell that might be a little erroneous thinking, right? So people blame the church. People say things like there's no good men out there. People go as far as to say, well, I blame my friends. They're not helping me to meet anybody, not introducing me to good people. They blame all kind of different people, all kind of different situations and people for them being single. But it really comes down, ladies, to the choices that you make at the end of the day. Now, I know you might be getting vexed here, not to say, so I'm not choosing to be single. I want a man. I want to meet somebody. So this session is about helping you to see what you could do, because it's only you that could do it, right? To see what you could do to put yourself out there, or to meet somebody, or to take yourself out of that single status, right? Once and for all, right? So ladies, you can't, I mean, I don't know if you all agree with me that how could you blame, let's hear what we can do, Vanessa, right? How could you put the blame? Y'all are basically saying, the people who said they don't agree, you're basically blaming everybody else for your state, right? You can't do that. In no area of your life should you ever do that. Ladies, if you are in a state of poverty right now, or lack, let's not say poverty, let's say lack, you cannot put the blame on anybody for that, right? This is a problem that we human beings have, right? Where we are never able to get out of our current situations, the things that we want to do better in, because we never look within for the answers. We always look on the outside. We always think the answer is with this or that, or instead of looking within in ourselves and saying, what could I do? What have I not been doing to be more successful? Or why am I still in this situation? Let's say it's lack. Let's say you want to come out of your present financial situation. You cannot blame anybody for that. Yeah, you can do that. That's one of the things that you can do. Education has become available to all now through the internet, YouTube. There's so many ways to make money besides getting up at 6 in the morning and getting ready to go to a corporate job and sit behind a desk. There, you could do that. That's great, a great way to make money. But there are other ways as well. So if you have a full-time job and you find you're not making enough money, you find you're not making enough money, there are things that you could do, but you can't blame anybody for the choices that you are making in your life. You are making choices, right? That's the thing. What environment we have? Work, home, right? I hear you, right? So I'm gonna try to help you all ladies tonight, right? So you can't blame the church, you can't blame your friends, you can't blame anybody, ladies, right? Think about it, right? You can't, you can't, you cannot put the blame on anybody, right? And ladies, this is for those of you now, let's say you are meeting people, but it never works out. So you are having relationships. So you are meeting people, and let's say you're friends for 6 months and then it don't work out. You meet somebody and next 6 months pass, that don't work out, right? And you keep meeting people and all your attempts never materialize to meaningful relationships, right? But you're meeting people. There's some people who struggle to even meet anybody and they claim that nobody shows interest, right? But you are meeting people. You're getting there. You're always getting a start. You're meeting people, but nothing meaningful ever comes of it, right? Have you ladies ever considered that perhaps you could be part of that problem? If you keep meeting a certain type of guy and the relationship always ends the same way, it could be, ladies, that you are making a particular type of choice. You can't keep blaming, because remember, you are the one person, right? You are you. You're the common denominator. You're the common factor in this whole thing. You can't say that every single guy out there is wrong and you are right. So if you keep having relationship after relationship that is not working out, it means that your choices are poor. Either your choices are really poor, or you of yourself are toxic and not in a position to be in a relationship with anyone, right? So it's one thing if you're not meeting people at all, but if you are meeting people and it's never working out, ladies, you may have to consider the fact that you are part of the problem. That is all I'm saying. You cannot just take yourself out of the picture. You are the one. It's two people in a relationship. And if you're having several and they're not working out, how could you take yourself out of the equation? You have to look at, what am I doing? What do I believe about myself that is causing me to make these types of choices, right? What belief is driving me to be attracted to this type of man, right? Could it be, ladies, right? This is for those of you who are meeting people and the relationships are not working. if you find all of your men friends that you get close to, if you find all of them in a bar or in a club, or every time you go to a fete, if every time that's where you meet guys, it stands to reason, ladies, that you're going to meet a certain type of guy, because the guys who pick up girls in that type of environment, not saying they're bad guys, but they really come in to just enjoy themselves and wind up on who they can wind up on. They come in there to look for women, right? Let me be real, ladies. They're going into that environment to look for women. Yeah, I come into the church, people, don't worry. I'm not biased. I am not biased, right? On the people in the world right now who are coming to the church, men and them, right? But if you're meeting all of the men in this particular type of environment, right? An environment that, let's say, fosters lust, and it's just an environment for alcohol, drunkenness, or, so depending on where you are meeting these men over and over and over, you are going to meet the same type of man who has the same type of mindset, who is going there for the same reasons, right? And so that's just one example. I'm not saying that's the case for all of you ladies, because I know you all want an excuse to say it's not your fault. I don't go in no club. So what she's saying wrong doesn't apply to me. I just go to church, right? We coming to you, right? So it could be, so again, you have to look at where you're meeting these men, if you are meeting them, right? What type of environment, where you're picking up these men from, right? Let's just right. I would love to read your comments, but it distracts me every time I try, but I would like to read them. We go back at the end and read the comments, right? This is another reason that people say that single and ladies, this one, I want to hear your opinion. Many women, I've heard many, this is not common among people who, let's say, are not Christian or religious, right? But it's very common to hear women say that they are single because they are waiting on God. So they're single because God has them single, basically, because God is not ready for them, and he is sending the man, and he has not sent him yet. So let me ask, how many of you agree with that? Talk to me in the comments. If you agree that you're single because of God, say yes or no. Yes, I'm single because of God, or no, God have nothing to do with this. Sadia is single because of God. When I was 18 and 35. Whoa, 18 and 35. Whoa. It have people, I don't want to see that at all. Yes, he provides. Wow, this is so interesting. Keep it coming, ladies. How many of you are single because of God? God didn't send the man yet, so it's God's fault. Let me see. Ladies, how many of you? God's fault. He provides, but God helps those who helps themselves. That's not a scripture verse. That's an old granny and them thing that they use to get you to do, to help yourself. I believe God have the person for you. If God in control, then yeah. I like that. I like that. He's not going to fall from the sky. I think God also needs our help. Whoa, I like that. I like the one that said, if God is in control, yes, then it's God keeping him up. So surprisingly, I'm surprised again at your answers. Many women are saying that they are single because of God. Susie, it's risky. How? It's risky. It's a tricky thing, and it's a tricky thing. But more of you than I thought are saying that it is God. Sometimes you guys in front of your eyes, but your own idea type. Keep us away. Correct, Mira. Right? So many of you said that yes, it is God. That is, you're single because of God. So again, you're taking the responsibility off of you and you are putting it on God. And so anybody who says that it is God, please don't disappoint me, Pastor. I pray and hope that God will send him soon. Oh Lord. Latoya, now you putting pressure on me now, right? Latoya putting pressure on me like it's my responsibility. Okay, I'll try to help you tonight, Latoya, right? So a 40, 50-year-old woman who is still not married but desires deeply to be married, y'all are saying she's single because of God. That's what you're saying basically. It's God. Because many of you said yes, God is the one holding back, so to speak, right? So by you saying that, so ladies, I want to break down what you just said, right? The accusation, I should say, that you made against God. For you to okay, if you are saying that God is holding back your husband, or God is in control, and so he's the one that has the right timing and he will send him when it's time and so on, would you agree that that is somehow taking away your free will as a human being? Because you're saying, yes, don't feast too much, ladies. Don't feast, because the excessive feasting could get you in trouble, right? So you don't want to over feast, you don't want to overindulge, right? But yes, good advice. I understand where you're coming from, right? Ladies, do you understand that is what you're saying? You are saying that I want to be married. I have this desire. I want a man. I feel lonely. I want to be with somebody. I want to have a family. But God is preventing me from having a family. God is the one who is holding back my husband. Basically, God is holding back your blessing, because you obviously see that as a blessing, right? So what part of that does your will play? Because we have free will, that is something that God has given us. Free will. We have dominion, ladies. We have dominion on this earth. We have the ability to choose. We have the ability to rule. God has given us the ability to rule, to choose, to live, to partake in what the earth offers, fruits, minerals, whatever. We have choice. And you are saying that God is holding you back. He's given us all this choice and all this freedom and all this dominion on the earth. He's told us to subdue, to multiply, to replenish, to do all of these things. But God is somehow not allowing you. I know you're trying to change it up now, not allowing you to meet that person, right? So is that not a violation of your free will, ladies? Talk to me. Don't you see that as a violation of your free will? Because those of you who are saying it is God, is it why would God be holding back your spouse? Is it because you are not ready? I'd like to know. I don't want to put words in your mouth. So let's say one person answer that question. It is God. You desire a spouse now, but you don't have one and you think it's because of God. Why is God holding this spouse back? Can I get an answer for that from one of the women who said that God is responsible? Let me hear. I'm very curious. Ladies, talk to me. What reason? So give me, okay, maybe it might not be you personally. Give me one of the reasons why God holds back spouses. Y'all can't go silent now after coming out and saying, maybe he wants me to be devote my life to church. Okay. Okay. So God is basically blackmailing you. So because you haven't devoted your life to church, he's like, here what? I have him here. I have him in a box. He tie up here. You wrap up it. I have a bow on the box and I have him here in the corner. Right? But only when you devote yourself to church, I go and let him go. So it's a kind of ransom thing now. You devote yourself to church, I release him. Right? So next, the person who said that, I'm going to use your example because that's the example that I saw. I don't know if there were others. Is it God's fault? You believe that, right? You believe that, you believe what you said. Is it God's fault that you are not devoted to church? Talk to me. Anything you put before God is an idol. Is it God's fault that you have an idol? Is it God's fault that you have put haven't put him first? Talk to me. Is that God's fault? This is those of you who said that maybe God wanted to be devoted to church or more devoted to him. No, it's not. It's not. No. So it's not God's fault, right? So let's say you do believe that God is holding back that person because you're not ready, because you're not devoted to him or to church or to the things of God, right? If you wanted to get this husband so badly, couldn't you just devote yourself to God? Is it that simple? Can you? Or is it that God have to make you be devoted to him too? You all understand why we're gonna go down a rabbit hole, right? I'm not gonna stop it. I'm not going down the rabbit hole because it will take up too much time. But ladies, I want you to understand that there's no reason that you could come up with that takes yourself out of the equation. That does not take, it doesn't come back to your personal responsibility. There's no reason. So let's say you are saying, now I disagree with that 100%, that those of you who are single and believe that it is God, I don't agree with that at all. God has given you free choice. He has given you free choice to make a mistake. God has given you free choice to choose whoever you want, good or bad, right? As difficult as that may sound, that's the truth. You can make a choice, right? God is not, and the person who said if God is in control, then it's him. I am a firm believer that God is not in control of what happens in this world. God gave us, man, dominion over this world and dominion over the earth. A lot of the things that are happening now in the world, it is not God controlling it. It is man. It is man's choice that has the world in the state that it is right now. It is not God. And if God were to intervene, right? Okay, Susie, I want to hear your story later on. Susie, I want to hear that. If God were to continually intervene into the matters of men, ladies, we would not have free will. We would have to do away with free will. And that would change the dynamics of everything that God did and created and wanted, and even salvation, right? So I don't believe that God is in control of the world. Men, the choices, the things that are happening, because to say that God is in control, ladies, is to say that when a 2-year-old baby gets raped by its uncle or cousin or neighbor or whatever, it's to say that God could have stopped that and didn't. You understand? It's to say that whatever tragedies happen in this world, God is the one that's in control. He's sitting and watching and allowing it to happen. He could stop it. Yes, he can, ladies, but he has given us free will and dominion over the earth, right? I don't want to go too much into this, right? This is just to let you all see how saying that God is the one keeping you back and giving reasons really does not make sense. Because even the reasons that you would give for why God would hold back a husband, you are the reason, why you are still in that state. So if it's a state of not readiness, it's your fault, not God. It's not God's fault that you're not ready for a spouse. Is it God's fault that you're not ready? Let's say you know to yourself that you're not ready. How that's not God, right? So ladies, as I said in the beginning, I believe that you're single because of either your choice or fault. I know we don't like the word fault, but by that you know what I mean, right? Something that you're doing or not doing, right? So it's important enough. Now, when it comes to God now, so I'm saying it's not God holding back his spouse, but it is very important, ladies, to include God in your choice for a spouse and to have the proper criteria for choosing a spouse. I believe that your criteria should come from a place of knowing God, of you having an intimate relationship with God and knowing what God considers right and good, of a good character. I believe that we should be able to make that choice from a place of having that personal conviction where righteousness is concerned. And if you are connected to God, if you have a relationship with God, You will know what God considers good and what is right and what is not. And you'll be able to spot when somebody is of a good character or not, right? And so some of us, our choices are so fickle, so, it's okay. Some people make a choice based on the person being cute. Like, oh my gosh, he is so cute. I have to marry that man, right? Yes, and a woman have unrealistic expectations. So you look at a cute fella who dressed in, a nice looking man is like, oh my goodness, I have to have him. He is going to be mine. Really? That's your criteria? He cute? Or he's 6'2"? I always wanted a man that's 6'2", right? Or, oh my gosh, he driving a nice car, boy. Oh, you see that car? Wait, that is man. You see how he just rock back in that car and he hard pong. And if that is your criteria for choosing ladies, then you're going to end up with a particular type of guy all the time. That can't be a criteria. So this is how I believe God should come in to your choices, right? If you have a relationship with God, you know what the proper standards should be for a man, what God considers a righteous man or a good man. And you choose from that place, right? Some people, let's say the way you've been brought up, if you were brought up in a good home and your parents instilled in you good morals and good values, and because of your upbringing, you have a good sense of self-worth, and you're not an insecure person, you know who you are, and this is because of your upbringing. Somebody like that will naturally choose a better partner because of how high their self-worth is and because of their moral character. They don't even have to try because it's who they are and it's what they believe. So somebody like that may never choose, let's say, a man who is abusive or might talk to them or shout at them. So you might end up, let's say, meeting somebody and they fool you for a little while. But from the time that man shout at you, right? Let's say you know him 2-3 weeks, a month, and you're getting a little disagreement and he shout or he speaks in, that's going to send up like 100 million red flags. And you're going to be like, what just happened? You'll probably get dizzy. You'll be like, wait, what just happened there? Did he just, because as you are saying, you're saying to yourself, I was never brought up to believe that any man could speak to me like this. This is wrong. This is not me. All of a sudden, all kinds of buttons and red flags going to go off in your mind. And you're going to watch that man and say, here, what's going on, mister? You see this? I didn't sign up for this. So you have a good afternoon, and you pick up your bag and you go. And it will take nothing out of you to end that friendship. It probably didn't even reach the relationship yet, right? Or let's say it was a relationship. It will take nothing out of you. The young lady, however, who grew up with her father calling her names, talking down with her, shouting at her, perhaps even hitting her, or let's say she saw her father treat her mother that way, that young lady, she might say to herself, I will never let a man do me that. But somehow she would find herself in the similar situation and accept it like her mother did. Or she might see all men, because of where she came from, how she grew up, she might see all men as that type of aggressive person so a man should be shouting at you. A man should be roughing you up. That's what you think a man is because all the men in your life, that's what you saw. So your choice will reflect that, right? That's not something. Now tell me something. Those of you who saying it's God and stuff, right? If you choose, let's say God send the man, and ladies, I'm a pastor. I've counseled many people who said to me before they got married, God told me he's the one. God told me he's the one. I had a dream. God spoke to me. This is the one. And the relationship doesn't work out. And I've probably done it once or twice because, I don't want to be. And I would say, so what? Is it that God was wrong? Or did God change his mind? Because if God sends somebody for you, God not going to send the Bible says that the blessings of God make us rich and they add no sorrow, and every good and perfect gift comes from God. So if you are saying God send this man, you said God sent him, how this man end up being abusive to you, or how he end up sleeping with somebody else, being unfaithful to you? Did God make a mistake, right? So ladies, let's leave God out of that choice. Now that's your choice. Let's leave God out of it in terms of blaming him, right? But how you include him is by talking to God. Say, listen, God, I met this guy. I like him. I don't want to make a wrong choice here. Open my eyes, show me anything I need to see, any red flags, let them come out early, Lord. I want to start to see. Talk to God. But even before talking to God, what I'm trying to say here about character and moral integrity is that you should have standards, ladies. You should even make a list. And now I'm talking about this stupid list that women make about 6 feet tall, dark hair, hazel eyes, a BMW, dress nice, must have dimples. I'm not talking about that type of list. I'm talking about a list of characteristics, qualities that you want in a man. You should write it down before you meet him. And so when you meet this person and you start, having an interest in them, if they include, amen, said beautifully, Nikisha, include the Holy Spirit in your choices. But if you have that list, I suggest you write it down. But let's say you have that mental list and you meet somebody and they don't meet any of the criteria, write out. Don't waste your time trying to see if the person will eventually become your list. That is a mistake that many women make, ladies. Don't wait and say, okay, let me see if he start to get more character. If he become a little more godly, let me see if he become a little more considerate of my feelings. Let me see if he become a little more respectful. Maybe he will change, right? If you had that list before and this person comes into your life and they don't meet, remember, the standards come from God, from the Bible, and from your worth, your self-worth, and what you're willing to accept as well. That should be a good benchmark to say, well, okay, this person is not the one for me. So even before praying, you should have things in your heart and your mind that you want in a man. And if you're not seeing it, then move along, right? There are many other fish in the sea, trust me. Right, so it's important for you to be in a place, ladies, where your choices reflect character and moral integrity. Some people naturally choose right because of the way they were brought up, right? That's just what I was explaining. And so they have higher values, they have higher standards, right? If you didn't grow up in a home where there were high standards where that is concerned, let me let you know that that is okay. Once you get to know God and you start reading the Bible and you understand who God made you to be and you realize how much God loves you, ladies, and the sacrifice that God made for you and what God has really done in your life, what you're capable of, the things that he has placed in you, even if you came from a bad home, if you are able to renew your thinking to line up with God's thinking about you, then this is going to become natural to you eventually as well. But your standard is going to have to be God. You're going to have to forget your family. You're going to have to forget your family background, your father, your mother, if you didn't come from a good home, and rely on God and his love, and let the love of God be the standard for your choice and not what you experience in your home. That is if it was not a good experience, right? So yeah, there was a video I wanted to show here, but Sally, the video that I said is 12 seconds, just to play the first 12 or 13 seconds. Could you put that up? Yeah. So it's like literally 13 seconds. And this is somebody that I've like listened to before, but in my opinion, I mean, you tell me what you think, but to make sure it's at the beginning. Not hearing, Sally. I don't know about you, but I'm not hearing.
Are you hearing? Nobody hearing? Okay. Let me see.
Somebody's saying you have to share with sound.
are mature in
You're
the Lord.
here now?
Yes. But take it back to the beginning because it's the first
Okay.
13 seconds or so.
Why does God allow disobedient people to be blessed with marriage, while some Christians who are mature in the Lord are still single? That's what we're going to answer in this video. Hey everyone, my
Okay,
name
the
is
topic
Mark, and
there
this
is
is Apply
select,
Guy.
right? So what this gentleman is, you can move it, right? What he's implying here is basically saying he sees people who not even, don't care about God, don't care about the things of God. They're in the world enjoying their life, they're fetting with their husbands and whatever. They're disobedient, they get married and living their life. And how come God allowing that and not allowing the Christians who mature, he said, who mature, so it's not a matter of not being ready or not in a place. How come they are single? And ladies, I don't know how you see that, but to say that is accusing God. It is saying that God is allowing one thing for one person and not allowing it for the other. That is not free will. No choice does not come in there, right? And many many believers have that thinking where marriage is concerned, that it is somehow God. So the people who are married, it was God that allowed that, and me, I'm single because of God as well. And if you believe that, ladies, I could see how that can affect your relationship with God eventually, especially if, as he said, you are a mature Christian who is ready. Then what God keeping back my spouse for if I'm ready? What, he playing a wicked game with me? What, he torture game? What we playing here, God, right? And so, ladies, again, yes, it can. I don't know what you mean there, but we'll talk at the after, right? In my opinion, that is an erroneous thinking. To think that God is the one that is orchestrating that then, and or allowing one person to be married and the other person not to be, right? God is not withholding your husband. He's not to blame. If there's anything, ladies, let me ask you this question before I go on to the next one. If there's anything in your life right now that you have not accomplished, let's say you desire to get a promotion on your job, or you desire to be in a better position financially, you desire to purchase a home, you desire to travel, right? These are things that you want badly. Are you saying that God is the one keeping you back from these things? That he's not allowing it? Because why? So how come would you, if that, I mean, I hope, ladies, that that's not what you're saying. That I know people have this thinking, well, all in God's timing, which means that anything that's not happening to me now is because it's not God's time for me. Erroneous. Ladies, God loves you. He wants you to have the best possible life that you could have, but he wants you to have that with the least complications as possible. And what causes the most complications in our life is sin. And so that's the only thing God is against, ladies. When you go against his will in terms of sin, like what he, because God, there are basic things that God tells us not to do. And the reason why he tells us not to do it is not because he's trying to control us, he's trying to protect us, right? God didn't say not to steal or not to kill or not to murder or not to go and covet another man's wife because he's trying to keep you back from, he's trying to make you have a fruitful, satisfying life without consequences, right? And if you think about your life and when you have broken God's basic laws, right, what the repercussions were for you. Some of you all are still living in them, making bad decisions and going against God's will. So I want us to be clear, ladies. This one, I would like you all to be clear. I mean, you all may not totally agree still, because it's probably a thinking that you've had for years, but it is not God's fault. God is not keeping you back from being married, nor is he withholding your spouse from you. He's not in a box somewhere wrapped up, waiting for you to be ready. You have choice, right? And I'll let you know this too, ladies. You don't have to be ready totally to be married. If you are really wait to be perfect and sort out every issue in your life, you will remain single. And so that's not what God is doing, certainly not. There are no two human beings that get married perfect, without issues, without faults, right? But you're able to grow together with this person. You still have your relationship with God, and He's able to change you while in a relationship. So it's not a matter of you being perfect, but there are some basic things, ladies. There are some basic things. If every relationship that you have been in, you've been unfaithful to your boyfriend, don't get married. If you are addicted to pornography and you are dealing with lust, you have a problem with lust, you're very sexual and you want to have sex with every guy that you get close to, not time for you to get married. If you're addicted to anything, pornography, cocaine, marijuana, any kind of addiction, don't get married. There are basic things that you should, if you are dealing with, you should not get married. But in terms of being perfect, right? If you came out of an old relationship and you have a lot of hurts and you have a lot of trust issues where men are concerned because you've been hurt more than once by men, or you're not, and they've been unfaithful to you and you haven't really healed from that, and you have a perception of men, don't get married if you haven't sorted that out. So there are basic things that makes you not ready, but the foolish little things that we might think we need to sort out before, not necessarily so, right? You don't have to be perfect to get married. So the next thing, Sally, let's start this one off with the video. The next thing that causes people to be single, right? The one that how many videos I sent you? The very first video I sent you, Celeste.
Okay, the Instagram one.
Yes.
Okay, 1 second.
And let him know I'm available. I don't want to have to be in a
Go back, right?
like, girl, shoot your shot. Shoot your shot. But I don't want to shoot my shot. I'm trying to be chose. I'm trying to be sought after. I don't want to have to text her where everybody's like, girl, shoot your shot. Shoot your shot. But I don't want to shoot my shot. I'm trying to be chose. I'm trying to be sought after. I don't want to have to text a man and let him know I'm available. I don't want to have to be in a man's face and be bold to let him know I'm that girl. I want a man to see me. I want a man to have to go to God about me. You gotta seek God about me. Let me go to God about this one. I can't just step to her. I gotta go to God first. I gotta face God before I can face her. The only thing I want to do is be in position to be sought after and to be seen. Baby, I'm trying to be chose and sought after, period. And I know we live in a culture where everybody's like, girl, shoot your shot. Shoot your shot. But I don't want to shoot my shot. I'm trying to be chose.
Okay. Right. Okay. So how many of you agree with that? You trying to be chose. You don't want to be shooting no shots. You want to be in a position to be pursued and chosen. How many have that thinking? Tamara says yes. Who else? Who else waiting to be chosen? Yep. Lisa's waiting to be chosen. All right. Mira waiting to be chosen. All right. Winthia waiting to be chosen. All right. Waiting. Oh no, Pauline, I'm sorry. Shanique waiting. Yes, waiting to be chosen. All right, waiting. Yes, I want to be chosen. Yes, men are natural hunters, of course. Sometimes you have to dangle the prey in front of them, though. Who else waiting to be chosen? Winthia, is your hand up because you want to say something, or that was just answering yes? Because we'll get a chance to talk at the end. No need to change the dynamics. You have to be seen, to be noticed, and to be chosen, right? Yeah. Well, so I don't know. Beautiful, honest answer, Mariana. Mariana says, I don't know. I want to help you with that. Men want to be pursued too at times. Right. Okay. So Plenty Woman says, Denisha says she does not know either. I have been told my face looks. Is it wrong for a woman to pursue a man? Right. So we're gonna get into it, right? Right. Okay. So I agree with some of what she was saying, but disagree with most, right? Disagree with most of what she was saying. She said that she don't want to shoot her shot, right? Mariana, shooting your shot is not a bad thing, right? She said she don't want to shoot her shot. She said all she wants to do is be in a position to be pursued or chosen, right? That's all she wants to do. So basically, she doesn't want to do she doesn't want to play any part in her choice. She's just waiting for it to be approached and pursued, right? I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that totally. But then she also said, you know, she wants the man who is going to step to her to have to go to God and be like, Lord, I want to go to this one. That's great. Man, if you meet a man who's gonna do that before he even talk to you, marry him, right? If it have one out there who even he just see you and he watching how you move and he go and talk to God about you, that's a interesting one. That's a good one, right? I think she's slightly in fairy tale land. That is my opinion. Remember, I said some of the things that I said. It is my opinion, right? I believe she's slightly in a fairy tale opinion, right? She is single, right? So, yeah. So this is my belief where that is concerned. First of all, I want to point out to you a reference in the Bible for those of you who believe that. And that is the story of Ruth and Boaz. I don't know if you all know that story. You all know the story in the Bible about Ruth and Boaz. Let me see if you all know the story. It's not a story, it's an account. Nothing in the Bible is a story. It's an account, right? It's not a story. The Bible is not a storybook. It's true life. So Ruth, on the instructions of her mother-in-law, made herself seen, right? She made herself seen based on the instructions of her wise mother-in-law. She lost her husband and was single, and she had made up her mind that she would stay single. She was single by choice. She made up her mind that she would live the rest of her days single with her mother-in-law because she loved her mother-in-law, and her mother-in-law lost both sons. So she was like, you know what, I would stick with my mother-in-law. But her mother-in-law wanted better for her. She wanted her to be married, to be able to have offspring and so on. And so her mother-in-law saw Boaz, who was actually next in line, because you know how it worked then with the whole family thing with marriage, to marry her, right? And her mother-in-law gave her tips and told her what to do to be seen by Boaz. Told her, you know, when to go, look him there. Then at one point, she even told her, make yourself, put on some perfume and where to go and position herself by him. Make yourself, you know, I guess, in appearance, attractive. Put yourself there. So I would not call that pursuing, but I would call that positioning, right? This young lady who was just in the video there, as wise as she may think she is basically saying, I'm not even going to position myself. She said, I just going to stay and wait, right? And so my advice to you ladies, if you have that thinking, and that's a thinking that is, I have never met somebody who is not a Christian, not a believer, not religious, who has had that thinking, a woman. It's mostly within the Christian church where women say, I want to be pursued, I'm not pursuing. No, I am where I agree with her. I don't agree that a woman should pursue a man like how a man would pursue a woman, right? I don't believe that I don't believe it was meant to be that way. But I strongly believe in positioning. I gave you all an example. I think I did a whole session or, you know, spoke about that a lot in the previous session. And I gave you all an example of a lady at a gym who, this is a true story. I was actually looking for it today and I couldn't find it, right? She was in a gym. She joined a gym to lose weight. And she saw this guy, over time, always coming by himself, doing his thing, seemed, like a nice guy, whatever. And she was slightly overweight. And I mean, she thought herself not the typical girl that maybe he would like because he was very athletic looking and so on. And, after looking at him for a while, she was like, you know what, I'm gonna not pursue, but she said she just gonna make herself known and see what could happen. Like, heck, if months are coming here and seeing him, walk or lose, right? And she just went, he was doing an exercise that she wanted to do, and she just went and asked him a question, like, I see you doing this thing for shoulders. I've been trying to do it. Could you just show me like how, whatever? And he was like, hey, sure, right? And he showed her whatever, and then she was like, okay, cool, thanks. And they had a little small talk, nothing much, little small talk. And then when she was leaving, she said, but my name is so-and-so, by the way. And he said, okay, my name is whatever. And then the next time they saw each other, she would just say, hey, whatever your name is. And, and she'd say, hey, I noticed. So she started making small talk with him, but like real small talk, not anything that you would think is like a woman tracking a man. It was like real small talk, just basically what he showed her to do and stuff. And they ended up getting married. Long story short, right? I wish I found the video, but it would have been too long for you to see the whole thing. But they ended up getting married. But what she was basically saying is sometimes as women, we think that we need to stay in our corner and not even make ourselves known or not, like nothing is wrong. You would have if you see a guy that you are interested in, and I hope in her case it was, she looked at him over time. Obviously, he looked good. But she realized that he was somebody who was on any games because it had other women in the gym, and he would she never saw him like, going to try to help them or having any small talk with them. So she kind of deduced that this could be a kind of good guy, and she shoot her shot, right? And they're married for 6 years, whatever, right? But she was saying that women think that it's all about looks, right? And if you don't look a certain way, then you don't qualify to track a certain type of guy, basically, or shoot your shot. Or, if you shoot low because you all know that kind of theory. And she was saying that you can build a meaningful relationship and have an emotional connection with somebody, and you can fall in love. And it does not have to be initially based on attraction. The attraction does initially come. That was what her thing was about. But I just liked it was about the attraction part, right? How she subtly made herself known, and it was not in a pushy way at all, right? And so I am not one to tell a woman, hey, girl, go hard after me. I like that man, girl, push. Don't let nobody come. Don't let nobody, make sure and find yourself here every day. And every time you see him, go and do this, like actively pursuit and try. I don't agree with that, right? If you position yourself, you see you once, twice, maybe you'll talk once, twice, and he doesn't show any interest, then you try a thing and it didn't work, right? But I don't agree with just staying there. Like you see somebody, let's say you are in the same church with someone, or in the same workspace with someone, or wherever, gym, what other things people do? Like say you go to Starbucks every other day and you always see this guy alone, right? He looks like he's single, he doesn't have on a ring, he's never with a girl, and he doesn't look like he like men. And you're thinking, this guy, how come he come in here by himself all the time, How come? I see nothing wrong, ladies. I mean, I just giving you a like silly example. I see nothing wrong with passing and spilling your juice on the table on the way back, like on his table, and saying, oh my goodness, oh jeez, and cleaning it up and saying, I am so sorry. And I was, and let me, I mess up let me buy another. That's just an example, maybe from watching too much movies. But all I'm trying to say, ladies, is I am not opposed to you making yourself. What wrong with that? Remember, Lisa, I give this story here about when Kerwin and I were getting close. I used to position myself after a while. I mean, he tells the story differently. When I was working at Pee-wee and he would travel all the time, I used to change my shift to be in the airport when he came in so I could drop him home. He didn't have to know that, right? He didn't have to know I changed my shift. As far as he see me, hey, you coming tonight? You working tonight? Oh, hey, I'm gonna drop you home now. Come now, ladies. You had to do it smart. And the next thing is he can't know that you are this is you putting yourself out there. It has to be really smooth. Now, everybody may not have it in them, but for those of you who feel, well, I had to stay in my corner, I'm just telling you, no. If you have a little skills and you could try a thing, try it. And again, I am not talking about actively pursuing a man like the way we see some women do it, right? I'm not talking about that at all. Messaging him every minute, trying to compliment him all the time, trying to basically put yourself out. I'm not talking about that, right? I'm just saying see if you can form a connection, as small as it may be, see where it would go. If it's going nowhere, forget it. If the man is not showing interest, you don't try to get him to be interested in you. No way, that's not what I'm saying, right? So yeah, I agree and disagree with the young lady. I really don't agree with the sitting back and waiting and just being in position, sitting, waiting. Ruth certainly did not do that. And what she did was actually wisdom, what her mother-in-law told her to do, and it worked out for her, right? So ladies, some of you are single because you're waiting. Some of you are single because you're waiting. That's all I have to say. I could give many examples of relationships that worked out because of just a little connection initially, a little contact, a little small talk, right? Right. Many women, their scripture reference for their strong belief about this waiting thing is that he that finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from God. Oh, geez. Ladies, listen, God just saying if a man find a wife is a good thing he find. It don't mean that God saying is the man had to look. If a man find a wife, he find a good thing. It come like saying, hey, if you go on your own, if you want to buy a car, you find this particular, if you find this rare BMW, you get through. It don't mean it, you know what I mean? He just, he that a man, if he finds a wife, he finds a good thing. Ladies, God is not saying to you that you have to sit in a corner and wait to be found. Okay, ladies? Nothing is wrong with I'm going to say positioning yourself, right? What is the time? I definitely want comments and stuff, so I need to move faster. This one is going to be difficult. This is the older ladies, right? I'm feeling nervous getting into this, right? But I have to, okay? Have to. Those of you who are older, let me see those of you who are over 35 and single. Can I see anybody on the call that is over 35 and single? Mariana, three people so far. Right, over 35 and single, yeah. Liana, Lisa, over 35 and single. Nikisha, yeah. Claire, okay. I'll be 35 in July. Yes, plenty. Okay, plenty. All right, so we have plenty 35 and older. Ladies, don't get back to me. Yeah. When it's difficult for you to pinpoint these things because, it's you live in the life, and the Bible says all of a man's ways seem right in his own eyes. And I'm not saying this is a situation for all of you who are 35 and over, right? But this is a problem, especially in today's world as well, right? Women, it is a fact, ladies, I don't think anybody could argue this, that people are getting married older and older, right? In the 70s, 60s, well, I know like all of my parents' friends and all of my friends at that age, when I was like 5, 6, all of our parents got married in their early 20s, like all of my friends, right? All of my mother and father friends who had kids, right, got married at, my mom was 21 and my dad was 23, I believe, or 24. My really good friend, I grew up in church, her mother was 20, the father was 24, something like that, right? People got married younger in the older days, right? It's also a fact, ladies, that in those days as well, there were less opportunities for women. That's a fact. So for a woman to be successful in the corporate world, and fulfill certain types of dreams, she'd have to push much, much harder, right? for most women in the 60s, 50s, 60s, 40s, all of those times, you know, her ambition was basically to get married. And sometimes parents would groom a young girl to be married, right? And so it was not uncommon at all in those days for women to marry young and actually stay housewives and mind the children, right? That's a fact, right, ladies? You know that. But the world has changed now, and it's almost like equal opportunities for both men and women. There's nothing hindering a woman now. And so many women, and this is a good thing, many women are taught that they should pursue their dreams and goals and go as far as they want to go, do what you want to do, travel the world, experience everything, whatever, do 100 degrees and stuff before you get married, right? Do it all before you get married, right? And that is good, right? If that is your desire, right? If you are, I mean, if your plan is to be you always had this desire to be the prime minister of your country, you're going to have to be groomed a certain way. Obviously, you're going to have to be studying, you're going to have to, probably go abroad for a while. So you're going to be focused on that, right? And so a husband might be, or a boyfriend might be something that will probably just keep you back, really. Or even if you have one, marriage is on the back burner, right? That is common today, ladies. Nothing that I have said there I'm saying is wrong, right? But what I'm saying now is for the older ladies who are more accomplished, or let's say you are over 35, and you're not in a relationship, but it's because you spent several years in a relationship that did not work, right? That's not your fault, right? But there's some women by choice, they dive into career and that kind of thing, and they want to be established. They actually have a goal to purchase a home on their own by a certain age and all that kind of thing, right? Ladies, not saying anything is wrong with that. But it is a fact, right, ladies, that for some men, especially depending on the circles that you are in, right, it is slightly more intimidating and difficult for them to approach a woman who has accomplished all these things. Like, she has her own house already, she has her own car, she has a great career, she's well traveled, especially if he, not saying he's not accomplished, but he doesn't see himself as equal, right? Now, so ladies, I want you to work with me, because I don't want you to think for a minute I'm saying that all these things and accomplishments and stuff is bad, right? I'm just saying, when you get to that stage in life and that age, ladies, you sort of, let's say there were a list of type of men that would pursue you. There's a whole category of men that will not. And I'm not saying that that's your fault. I'm not, right? It could be that they are probably, see you as intimidated. It could be where they're at in their life. But the fact of the matter is, there is a whole bunch of guys that may have pursued you if you were in your 20s are not that well accomplished. There's some that would just be off that list. So it's sort of, ladies, don't get vexed, and you could disagree, right? But a lot of the men said that this is true. It sort of lessens your chances. And ladies, don't be offended by this either, right? The older you get, right? I know this is not encouragement, but we're going to get to the encouraging part. The older you get as well, the less options there are. The older you get, that is a fact. Men always go, or they understand where I'm coming from, right? I'm just telling you the reality. I'm not saying what you are doing is wrong, yeah? I'm just telling you this is how it ends up being, right? The older you get, the less your chances are. It's very rare, unless a man forms a connection with you, falls in love with you, that if given a choice, let's say in a room, that a 30-year-old man would choose a 40-year-old woman over a 25-year-old woman, or a 45-year-old woman over a 25-year-old woman, right? Yes, you said it better than I did. The pool is getting smaller and smaller as you get older, right? So that's also one of the reasons why it's more difficult for an older woman. But all it means, ladies, is that you have to position yourself differently. you have to change your mindset. You cannot be in your late 30s, 40s, thinking that you could grab a man like you would have at 25. You can't still just be relying on your physique, right? Now, I'm not saying at 35, 40, 50, maybe, I'm not saying that your physique is not in check. That's not what I'm saying. But that cannot be the thing that you're relying on. Whereas a 25-year-old could probably get away with that, right? Just using her physique and her beauty. As you get, because a man could choose between you he could choose between the 40-year-old with a good physique or the 25-year-old with a good physique. He'd most likely choose the 25-year-old, and here why. It's just wisdom for him, right, ladies? He's gonna have more years with her of a good physique than he would with the 40-year-old, right? I know what you're saying is probably hard to digest, but if you think like a man, you'd see that what I'm saying is practical for them. And you'd understand why it would lessen your chances as an older woman to get certain men, not all, but certain, right? And so as older women, and I'm not saying any of these things is your fault, but I'm saying you cannot have the mindset of a 25-year-old at 35 or 45 or 55. You're going to have to use some other things to attract a man, right? You're going to have to use some other things because he has other choices, right? And so, and many women go into their late 30s and 40s still trying to be all cute and sexy and thinking that that is going to work, right? You keep it up, ladies, listen to me. Go to the gym, exercise, maintain your physique, maintain yourself, look beautiful. I'm not saying don't, but I'm saying if you really think about it, if it's you, it's either you at 40 or the girl at 25 looking good, you go for the girl at 25, right? So what I'm saying is you have to have the mindset of, well, okay, it's not all about my outward. It can't all be about that. So you're going to have to use some different qualities. You're going to have to bring out some other things to attract the man, to grab his interest, right? And so it could be an advantage to you ladies to have everything together. Please don't say that I said that having everything together is a bad thing for a man. It could be an advantage because he's saying, okay, wow, all right, this is an independent woman, he knows that there's certain issues that are going to be out of the question one time. If you come with, your life intact. He also know that emotionally you've been through a lot, and by now you should come to a maturity and wisdom and understand men and life better. He knows it's not no little girl who probably looking to porn him or looking to go out. You know what I mean? So there are advantages. And so a man looking for a wife who might meet an older woman who has things together would be a good thing for him, but it's not the case for all, right? So, ladies, this is something that I saw. I had a video, but I wouldn't show it, right? This is something that, in research, and I saw today that what the men were saying, right, is that for a woman, it's a natural thing for a woman to see a man with money, let me just say money, who has his life intact. Let's say he already has a home, he has a car, or he may not own his own home already, but he certainly is moving towards that. He's financially secure. So what they were saying is that financial security for a woman in a man is something that would attract her to a man, right? Again, that is an age-old thing. Women look for security. They want security in a man, and they don't want to know that they're catching the tail. So if you meet a man that has, all the good qualities, and also they're a good provider, and you realize that this person has things together and is working towards a goal in life, that's an attraction for a woman. That is going to attract a woman to a man, right, ladies? We could be real and say that, right? A man having his life together, and if you meet a man who owns his house already, you get through, right? He done paying a mortgage. It's just you come into the picture now and you helping him, right? It's an attraction for a woman, always has been. But what the men were saying is that a woman having all those things is not necessarily something that they consider an attraction. No, I'm not saying they see it more as an asset. If you understand what I'm saying. So it doesn't make them, you know, see a woman like that and say, well, okay, wow, that is an attractive quality. You know, it's something, as I said, it will be an asset to them. But men not really. So basically, women look for men who have some sort of security, financial security. And I believe women should. I'm not saying it has to always be that way, but I believe it's just common sense, right? But men are not necessarily, or not, in fact, looking for that in a woman, right? You all agree with me there, right? I hope nobody disagrees with that. So a woman looks for financial security. Men, unless you are, what is the term for that? Is it a gigolo? Men who look for women with money. They look for a woman to mind them. What is called those men again? Yeah, I can't remember. Those men, sorry. They like rich women and they go, is it gigolo? Anyway, gold digger. Not the gold digger, it's for the woman, but yeah. Anyway, a loafer. Yeah, maybe we could say loafer. A leech. Oh Lord. Right. Yeah. So there are some men who say, right, you see me? I'm looking for a woman who could take care of me. Right? Gigolo is for sex, you're right. Gigolo is more sexy, correct? I think so, right? I'm not talking about those type of men, but I'm saying that for a man, that's not something that it's not something that is going to be on a man's list necessarily. So as a woman, but it will be an asset, definitely. If you have everything else and you have that, he gets through in life. That's how we'll see it. But it's not like how a woman, you know, that sort of financial security is an attraction to a woman, a man being attractive to her, right? And so what I'm trying to say, ladies, is that as you get older, I think I said it a few times, as you get older, your choices lessen. That is a fact, right? If you try to say that is not the case, and not only that, the type of choices, it's different too, because at 40 or 50, if you're looking to meet someone, it's very rare that you'd meet someone who may be unmarried and does not have children. I'm not saying it's not out there, but the chances are that you'd probably meet somebody who has already been there or has some kind of history with several women, right? And so you have to move differently as older women, right? And not look to the things that you did prepared to be a stepmother. Well, I mean, it doesn't always have to be that way. I mean, I know people who got married at that stage in life and there was no blending of families or whatever because both parties were never married. It happens, but you know, the chances are there's going to be baggage as you get older, right? So yeah, so ladies, that's my take on being older. As an older woman that is accomplished and has everything together, you have to really humble yourself when you meet a man. Because remember we did a whole program on men and what men look for in a woman. Men love their egos to be fed. Men love to feel wanted and needed. They want to feel like a leader, you know, like they have some kind of authority that they could teach you something that you're coming to them for. So as a woman, you might have everything together, yes, but you don't want to present yourself that way to a man. Let him find out as time goes by. I wonder if you understand me, ladies. Let him find out, let somebody else come and tell him, or let him find out as you all grow in a relationship that, wait, no, so you have 100 staff under you. So you are a boss lady. But don't let him ever find out you're a boss lady by your attitude, by bossing him around, or by you telling him, listen, don't try to be stuck to me. So don't tell me, I manage a staff of 100, you know, right? If that is your position, ladies, make yourself attractive to the man by humbling yourself. Let him find out who you are. And the more he gets into you and finds out who you are and how accomplished you are, it will become more and more attractive to him in that scenario because he already fall for you. But then when he starts to realize, now, wait now, you own your own house. So you don't come and present yourself as well. Listen, I'm not looking to play no games because I don't have my house. I don't have my car. I travel the world. So I want a man who gets this, right? If that's how you're presenting yourself, ladies, at your age, that's probably why you're single. If that's the kind of impression you give it men, it ain't gonna take them too long to say, watch me, this song I like trouble up in here. Me one woman bossing me around. So bye-bye, right? Humble yourself. Let the man be a man. And so when you're getting to know him, take down the boasting. I'm not saying don't talk about yourself, but let it happen naturally. Let him discover who you are and appreciate you for your gifts and your talents and all the things that you're able to do. But still make sure that this man can see that you want to also draw from him and learn from him and know about him, right? It's not about you and your accomplishments only. So many ladies turn men off with that type of attitude if that's how you're presenting yourself. And it becomes, ladies, you put yourself at a disadvantage. And I'm not saying, again, this is always your fault. Well, yes, based on what I said, it kind of is. But the later you get married, the more difficult it is for you to let go of certain habits because you've been this way for so long. You've lived your life a certain way. You've become accustomed to your routine. You've become accustomed to your lifestyle. You've become accustomed to nobody telling you what to do. You could just book a ticket and travel, or you could, So as the older and more independent you get, when you meet somebody and they come into your life, it becomes more difficult to be submissive and to be even humble. So you have to make sure you are, you have a humble disposition if you are that type of woman when you're meeting a man, right? Right. I have to hurry up. I wonder if I should end here and finish this next week because there are two important ones. Okay. I have two more that I want to get to, and I don't want to rush it, ladies. And just sum it up, right? I don't want to rush it. So I want to end here. So I'm going to make this a part 2, right? But I want y'all, if I go on, I'm going to end up rushing it because I really want to hear from y'all. And I saw some very interesting comments flashing by that I could not read.